Hello there, how are you? My name is Helen Harrison. You are listening to the Empowered Marriage Podcast. So it's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, and also I'm swinging it over onto YouTube. So if you're listening to this, you can actually see it on video on YouTube. So the Empowered Marriage Podcast. This is a podcast filled with everything to do with marriage. A lot of it is very driven from education. I think education is a crucial skill that we need, and that's what drives me. Is I just rattle on about everything to do with marriage and relationships. So today is podcast 75, and how to find your purpose without ending your marriage. So why am I talking about this? Fair bit of the time, some of the time, I have clients who come in, and they may come in individually without their partner, and they sit in the chair, those chairs that you can see behind me, or online on Zoom, and they'll say, I've lost my mojo, I've lost my identity, I just don't know what sparks me up anymore. My job isn't doing it, my relationship isn't doing it, the kids aren't doing it, I have lost my way. And it's a pretty scary place, because sometimes you feel that, maybe I've got to get out of my marriage so that I can really find my identity, so I can find my purpose, so I can find what lights me up. Well, today's podcast, I'm going to talk about how you can find your purpose and not necessarily have to end your marriage, because for some people they think that is what they need to do. However, I'm a big believer, Maslow's law of hierarchy, the triangle. At the very tip is self-actualization. Self-actualization, where there is self-empowerment. You are emotionally accountable to yourself. You get yourself, you know yourself, and you know what your why is. You know what your purpose is. And so today I'm going to give you some really good quality questions. If you're in this place, if I'm talking to you and you've lost your way, and you're in confusion, you're in overwhelm, you're not sure if you're actually meant to be in this marriage. You might have got into this marriage at a very young age. You could have been 18, you could have been 19, you could have been 15, you could have been 21, but you didn't have a lot of time to be in your own skin, be your own person, and be in adulthood on your own before you got into your relationship. You may be in a long-term relationship and you've been with your partner for a very long time, and you may have seen having your children that was your purpose. However, our job as parents is to launch our children and actually let them go. So it's not our purpose, it's our role. And you may differ, you may not agree. There could be a number of things that I say on this podcast and other podcasts that you disagree with, and that's none of my business. But what I'm doing is just encouraging you to perhaps think outside of the box that you have created in yourself and start looking at things a little bit differently. So today I'm going to give you a few questions. So if I glance over that way, it's because I've written a few questions down that I really want you to ask yourself, because it is crucial. Because what does it look like when you've found your purpose? When you've found your purpose, you're motivated, you're excited, you're driven, you got life, you got energy, life force inside of you, you got something to wake up for. You actually tend to be a lot more organized, because you know that it's really important to have time management. You may have a lot of responsibilities, yet when you're on purpose, you fit it all in. When you want something done, you ask that busy person because you know it's going to get done. That's what it's like when you are on purpose. And if both of you are on purpose, you know why you're here. And actually, let me take back from that a little bit. What I mean when you're on purpose, I believe even at 90 years old, you need to be on purpose. At 90 years old, it might be that you are going to perhaps pick the flowers from the front garden and put them in a vase, so that your kitchen smells beautiful. That's a purpose. You're on purpose. And, it really does not matter what it is. However, we can get caught up on what our purpose is. It's so important to be on purpose, because that does give you energy, life force, and it's your why. And if you are fortunate enough to be listening to this and you have got your purpose, then maybe flick this to someone who you know is a little bit perhaps lost or unsure of their purpose, because I hope that this will be helpful. So first question is, I want you to write down absolutely everything that you love to do in life. When we have joy, when we have excitement, when we're feeling happy, we are inspired. We are inspired is what I'm trying to say. So I want you, this is going to be called my love it list. And this will all make sense later. But the point is to get inspired and to imagine. It's letting your mind sort of run free. I remember it was just quite a few years ago, I was on a workshop and I did something very similar to this. However, we were paired up. We had to come up with 250 things. No, that's right. There was no limit on it, but we had to have a purge of what we'd always dreamed of doing. But in doing that, there was a bit of a theme of what we loved. A lot of it is when we're younger, when we don't have the stresses and the restraints and the responsibilities that we have as we get older, particularly with mortgages and family and careers. So coming back to, I want you to write all of this down. Be open-minded. Be outrageous. Don't put a limit on it. Be creative. That's your number one. Write down all the things that you absolutely love to do in life. My number two, list the things that you do with relative ease. Would it be a fair statement that we've all got different strengths? Some of us might be really good with numbers. Others of us may be very creative and good at painting or sewing. Some of us could be really, really good at exercise and running and doing different sport activities. But I want you to write down all of the things that you do with relative ease. And you may be listening to this and going, well, nothing. Absolutely nothing. I find everything hard. Or perhaps question that belief, because there will be things that you do find are easier than other people. And we all have different intelligences. Spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, mental intelligence, and we've all got different strengths. So it's list the things that you do with relative ease and the things that you are passionate about, because these could actually end up being your purpose. Sometimes things are so in front of us, they're so in our nose, but we're so blinded that we're not even aware of what they may be. So that's why doing this exercise can be very, very helpful. My number three, I want you to look back at your personal history. And we've all had unique challenges, every single one of us. We've all had adversities and we've all had trauma, every single one of us. Varying degrees of trauma, but we have all had challenges. And how did you overcome these challenges? How did you overcome these adversities? This just takes me to, at lunchtime I was listening to Eckhart Tolle on soul conversations on the Oprah podcast. And he was talking about that for us to evolve as human beings, we have to have had adversities and trauma. Because it's through the challenges that we grow. It's through the challenges that we learn. And it's through the challenges that we have awakenings. And the more that we allow ourselves to drop into those adversities and to feel them and to learn what we're meant to be learning, we then evolve. So look back at your personal history. What have been your successes? What have you conquered? And you need to share to make the world a better place. What's your why? Sometimes we can be quite modest around this. And sometimes there's little whispers or ideas, particularly at childhood. What was going on in childhood that you had to overcome? I haven't met anybody who hasn't had to overcome something. And what did you learn from it? So ask yourself those quality questions, because your personal history can have a really great influence on what our purpose may be. Number 4 is I want you to ask trusted friends, families, work colleagues, coaches, what they see in you. Because, a lot of us, we have inner critics. We beat ourselves up. We're not enough. And when I did this exercise and I emailed and I rang certain people, I just felt so damn uncomfortable, because I felt I was preparing myself for rejection, and I felt really, really uncomfortable with it. Other people see through different eyes than you do. Your eyes are critical. I'm making an assumption here. They might not be unless you've done some work, but a lot of the time we can be quite critical, and I can't do it, and a half glass full. So other people will see things that you don't, and can help you guide to find something hidden inside of yourself. This is so true. We get stuck with what lights us up. But it could be an auntie, it could be a brother, it could be a friend that you've only had a few years but sees something in you. You're asking the question. And I would really frame it up that you want honesty. They may go, oh my goodness, you're doing this career, but I could so see you as this because of A, B, C, and D. So have those conversations. Yes, you may feel uncomfortable, but gosh, change is uncomfortable, and it's getting used to being uncomfortable, because that is what change is all about. And you know what? You're wanting to find out what your purpose is. So my number 5, which has got a number of questions linked to this, I want you to ask yourselves these, I'll call them self-discovery questions, to start getting you processing. So the first one, what are the things you would do even if you didn't get paid for it? That is a really good one, because for a lot of us, we have to work. Well, we all have to work, but depending on the income that we want. So I want you to, what would you do if you didn't even have to get paid for it? Your second question is, what do other people say you're really good at, or that you should do professionally, or you should do more of, which is very similar to number 4. So just really open that up a bit more. Another question is, what is the one thing you want to experience or accomplish before you die? So sit with that one. It's, what is the one thing that you want to experience? The next one is, if you had all the money in the world, how would you spend your time? Similar to this first one, but not quite the same. If you had all the money in the world, how would you spend your time? I imagine for a fair few of you, it could be quite different. What I see happening with people I work with is you get on a treadmill, not literally, or a mouse wheel. You're just going round and round and doing the same thing. And it's almost like you are in your own cage. You are in your own prison. You're in a rut. You're bored. You're doing the same thing. You're not doing what sparks you up. Living on purpose, you have endless energy. You're driven. You know where you're going. So that'll be another question to ask you. Ask yourself is, where are you going? What does that look like? What are you willing to do to get there? I don't want to bombard you with questions, but here's another one. What would your perfect day look like? This is a really great meditation to do, is going into a meditation and actually connecting with it. What does your perfect day look like? Describe every detail. So what's the point of all of that? Like I said, we can get very, we can have blind spots as to, it's right under our nose what we need to be doing to be on purpose. I really, really encourage you to go onto my website, powerofchange.com.au. This is all in a blog form. Print it up, and in your journaling tonight, or in your, after you've done meditation, ask yourself these quality questions, because this is going to encourage you and to support you to start looking inside. A lot of people I hear from, they don't look inside. It's all about being out there. Yet they feel empty. So if you want to improve the quality of your relationship and of your marriage, you've got to improve the relationship with yourself. And it's what gets you going, what turns you on. What is it that, you wake up at 5 a.m. and you bounce out of bed because you're on purpose? And yes, people do live like this. And if you live like this, I am rapt for you, because it is a really nice place to be if both partners are living on purpose, if both partners have a purpose that inspires them, that motivates them, and makes them feel energized. So, if this speaks to you, the first question, it's going right back to the beginning. Write down all the things you absolutely love to do in life. That, with everything else, all the other questions that you've asked yourself, that is a huge one, because if you enjoy it, would you say that you'd be much more likely to want to constantly visit it? So, I live on purpose, if you haven't noticed. I discovered years ago, I started going to see a counsellor for my own trauma, my own anxiety. There were a few different reasons I went. A big one is I was shouting at my 8-year-old. I also had stuff come up around my brother who committed suicide. I didn't know how to deal with it, and I'd put it in a box and put it away, and it was starting to seep up and come out. But the bottom line was I had lost my purpose. I thought my purpose was to raise my children, but it wasn't. It is my role. My purpose, because it's very important that you launch your children. And if they are your purpose, then you don't want to launch them, do you? Because you're very much linked to that. So I started, well, what's my purpose? And it's when I started to see a counsellor, I noticed I was starting to talk to family and friends. I was starting to want to inspire them. I was telling everybody they should go and see a counsellor. But of course, you can't tell anybody to do that. But that was a little seed that was planted. And then when I went back to list the things you do with relative ease, well, I'm an extrovert. I love connecting with people. I, from a very, very young age, would emotionally and energetically check in with my mum, see how she was, and I do it all with relative ease. So it was really a no-brainer. But often we don't even realise that. When I look back at my personal history, due to my own trauma, I think some of the best counsellors, as long as they're not wounded healers, are people who have lived experience. And so, due to my lived experience, I feel that I have empathy, and I can get people from A to B. I can get people from where they are now and where they want to go, and I've got the tools to be able to do it. And I'm very passionate, and I'm very on purpose with it. Back then, gosh, I hate it how I say back, how I say but anyway, I remember asking friends and family. And yes, that is certainly what came out. At that stage, I was in the coaching phase. And then these thought-provoking questions that I've asked you. What are the things you would do even if you didn't get paid for it? I'd still continue to do what I'm doing, but on a larger scale. And I'd get people to organise me because I'd have a fabulous PA. But I would still want to educate. I want people to live to their potential, because if you can do that and be true to yourself, you're going to be in a much happier relationship. Anyway, I'm looking over at the time. You know you're on purpose when you can rattle on about a conversation, because for me, when I get on any topic around personal development, I can rattle on till the cows come home. Anyway, I've run out of time. I really do hope this has been helpful. So how to find your purpose without ending your marriage, because get on purpose first. Then you'll be a lot clearer whether it is the right marriage and the right relationship that you are in. So anyway, on that note, I hope this has been really helpful. I look forward to doing another podcast very, very soon. Enjoy living in your empowered marriage, in your empowered life. And powerofchange.com.au, any information. If you want to work with me, if this is speaking to you and you're going, oh, holy cow, I need to do some work, you can come into my office here in Thornlands, or I work a lot online on Zoom, which is really, really effective. So it's for all those people who don't want to get here, and particularly those people with young kids. Anyway, on that note, enjoy living your empowered life in your empowered marriage, which I've already said, and the power of change. And actually, I'm going to change that. The power to change is within you. See you next time. Bye.